Hi students, how are you all? We are back to see second lecture of agriculture. In our first lecture, we saw food grains, then we discussed about food crop but not grain, that is sugarcane, tea, coffee, etc. Today, we'll see some some improvements and developments of agriculture, which challenges agriculture is facing, the share of agriculture in Indian economy, and as well as we are also going to study some non-food crops. So today we are going to begin with non-food crops, and that is rubber. In day-to-day life we are using rubber, isn't it? First of all, it is an equatorial crop, but sometimes if water permits, then it is also used in other area, it is also cultivated in other areas. It requires moist and humid kinds of climate, and it requires more than 200 centimeter rainfall. 25 degrees Celsius temperature is enough for rubber, and the states which are producing rubber is Kerala, Tamil Nadu, then Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar, and Garo Hills of Meghalaya. If you see the record of 2010 and 11, India stands fourth in rubber production. Okay, so here you can see how the rubber is taken from the trees. Okay, rubber which is very elastic. Yes. Now second crop, that is cotton. The cloth or the clothes that we are wearing, you know very well that they are made up of cotton. First of all, it is a processed, then it is sent to factories, and then cloth is made out of that, and then clothes are sewed, and then we are wearing it. Okay, so cotton is also one of the most important crop. It requires uh, at least 210 frost free days, and it requires bright sunshine for growth. It requires light rainfall, and sometimes it also requires irrigation. It requires high temperature, and the states which produce cotton, they are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, and UP. India stands second in the production of cotton after China. Okay. Next is about jute. Okay. So many times you might have seen that sugar comes in this pack. Can you say this? Yes. In this pack, sugar comes. So Bangladesh is most pioneer country in producing jute. Okay. So sometimes jute is also known as golden fiber. Please keep this word in mind. Jute is called golden fiber because from this you can see kind of cloth is made, and from that we are making bags and all, but finally it is a kind of cloth. Okay, and it seems to be golden, that's why it is called golden fiber. It requires high temperature as well as well drained fertile soil. The states in our India, the states which are producing jute is West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, and Meghalaya. The usage of the jute is, we use it for making gunny bags, then mats, ropes, yarn, and carpets. So here you can see how the people, they are cutting the crop of jute, and afterwards by processing they are making all these things which you can see to your left hand. Okay. Yes, so here we finish our crops, which are major crops are in our India. Okay, now we will go towards technological and institutional reforms which took place in our India to reform our agriculture. So let's start. First of all, to improve the quality of agriculture, when India got independence in 1947, land reform was there. We were dependent on other countries, that is US, to get the grain from them. If it goes on, then we have to give them money. So we have to rely upon us only, upon our agriculture. So we have to cultivate it. we have to cultivate it properly, and we have to improve the standard of agriculture. Keeping this in mind, the leaders at that time, they brought some changes and revolution in agricultural sector. And first of them was collectivization, then consolidation of holdings. What is a consolidation of holdings? Earlier, because of inheritance law, the land was fractioned in very small parts. So government first brought them together. Okay, that was called consolidation of holdings. Then cooperation. All people will come together and they will work in a farm, and whatever they get from there, they will distribute it among themselves. It is a kind of socialism. Okay, and then abolition of zamindari. What was zamindari? Means the peasants, they will cultivate or produce something in their farm, and they have to pay taxes to two persons. One is government and second is zamindars also. So after 1947 we abolished this system, and afterwards peasants, they have to give the taxes to government only, not zamindars. Clear? Yes. So these changes brought some revolution in our agriculture. Then land reform. As you know, 5-year plan. This concept we have borrowed from Russia. So our first 5-year plan was focused on land reforms, in which Government of India, they brought green revolution, according to which we experimented this in northern states, that is Haryana, Punjab. Okay, there we used high yielding varieties HYV, where in a small patch of land we got a lot of grain. But there was one drawback of this. Because of this continuous cultivation, the land was losing its fertility. That was the drawback of that. But still, this green revolution was so much helpful for India, and it promised a lot for India. But nowadays, we have got some drawbacks of green revolution also. As I told you, losing fertility of the land. Afterwards, in 1960s, 70s, white revolution came. In white revolution, it is also called Operation Flood. It was about milk. Okay. Then earlier, that is green revolution, was limited to few areas. That's why the government thought that there should be such a revolution which will be comprehensive of all the territories and terrains of India. So Comprehensive Land Development Program CLDP was initiated during 1980 and 1990s with technical and institutional reforms. Okay, so under this CLDP, which steps were taken by Indian government, that we will see. See, first of all, as you know, agriculture is dependent upon farmers. If they are not doing them, if they are not doing it, it will not be safe. So we have to promote agriculture, and if we want to promote agriculture, then farmers must be motivated. To motivate them, there was provision for crop insurance. If there is a crop failure, and if you have drawn crop insurance, then you will get money of that crop. Okay. Then second, establishment of Grameen banks, by which it will be very easy for farmers that they will take loan from these banks. They don't have to go to nationalized bank and submit a lot of documents, bunch of documents. Then cooperative societies. These cooperative societies, where people will come together, they will invest some money, and in the group, those who need money, they will take loan from the society, in which the rate of interest will be very, very less than banks. Till now, till the date, we are using this cooperative societies. Okay. Then KCC, Kisan Credit Card, by which we will provide credit to Kisan. If in his account, if there is no money, okay, still we can provide him money, that is credit. Kisan Credit Card. Then personal accident insurance scheme. Then for the information of the farmers, and scientific agricultural reforms or scientific agricultural methods, government started giving news bulletin on weather and agricultural program to create the awareness among the farmers, to do it by different ways, different new ways. And then Government of India also initiated the scheme of MSP. MSP, that is minimum support price, by which if farmers don't get their wanted or their expected rate in the market, then and nobody is ready to purchase their material or their product, then government will purchase it in the minimum price. Of course, that is called MSP, minimum support price. If nobody purchase, government will purchase that product on their decided price. During this, two big movements were being operated by Vinoba Bhave, Acharya Vinoba Bhave. One was Bhudan movement and second was Gramdan movement. About this, you have to tell me in details. Okay, I'll be waiting for your reply. They were very famous, due to which Vinoba Bhave inspired many farmers for this movement. But in this movement, what exactly people did? Okay, and where it started exactly? That answer you have to give me. I'll be waiting for your reply. Next, contribution of agriculture in national economy. Yes, see, as you know very well, 52% of the total population, they are employed in agriculture as per the data of 2010 and 11. But the share of agriculture in GDP is very less. Maximum people, 52% people, they are employed in agriculture, but the share of agriculture in GDP is very less, because we are doing it as an intensive farming, intensive subsistence farming. Still, we have not come to commercial farming or the plantation system thoroughly. If we want to do that, and if we are doing, means we have never considered agriculture as a business. We always have considered agriculture as subsistence farming, that we have to feed the belly of my family only. Okay, so 52% employed but very less share in GDP. Keeping this in mind, and again to create awareness about agriculture among the people and peasants, government established ICAR. You can see the symbol of ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Bharatiya Anusandhan Parishad, Bharatiya Krushi Anusandhan Parishad. It was established to study more and more about agricultural inventions and discoveries. We established agriculture universities, then veterinary services, animal breeding centers, okay, then horticulture development, research in meteorology, by which farmers will come to know about the changes in the climate, about monsoon, okay, then weather forecasting and rural infrastructure. Okay, so all these schemes were brought by Indian government to improve the standard of Indian agriculture. But there were some problems when we were bringing this revolution. Indian government, they decreased the subsidy on fertilizers, and farmers had to purchase it on high range, on high price, and that's why definitely it will affect the cost or the price of the product. If they are purchasing something costly, then definitely they will get it from their product only. So our day-to-day lives necessary things, they became expensive because of reduction on subsidy of fertilizers. And as well as at the same time, Indian government, they brought reduction on import duties of foreign agricultural products. Just imagine, if something agricultural product, it is coming to India from other countries, and if they are selling it on lower price than Indian agricultural price, then definitely we are going to purchase foreign product, isn't it? So when Indian government reduced the import duties, and the farmers, those who were from outside foreign countries, they started exporting their product in India, it was found to be detrimental to domestic farming. Okay, so these were the problems faced by farmers at that time. So keeping all these problems, Indian government takes place. Just imagine, it is the duty of or any government that they have to take care of the nutritional value or nutritional level of the citizens of the country. If it is not reaching to all, then we have to take care of that. Government has to take care of that. There are some states which are very poor, or their literacy rate is very low, or their development rate is also very low, and that's why the nutritional level of those states, it is very low. That's why it is the foremost duty of government that they have to take care of them, and that's why government has turned towards food security, under which buffer stock and PDS comes. PDS, public distribution system, and buffer stock. So one by one, let's discuss about it. First, we'll see buffer stock. What is a buffer stock? See, if any natural calamity, okay, or any natural disaster comes, then government must be ready to face that problem. And or sometimes if there is a famine, drought, then in specific area, the people, they are not ready to get, they are not able to get anything from their farm, then government has to keep something in stock, which will be given to them, which will be delivered to them in such a conflicting crisis. Okay, so Food Corporation of India, FCI, they have charged to keep this material or this product in stock. Okay, and they purchase it in MSP, as I told you earlier, minimum support price. They purchase it from the farmers and they keep it in their buffer stock. When natural calamity, famine or drought comes, then they have to deliver it to that specific area freely, of course. Okay, and then second, PDS, public distribution system. As you know, there are two types of customer, APL and BPL. APL, above poverty line, and BPL, below poverty line. In PDS system, public distribution system, the things which we require in our day-to-day life, that is rice or wheat or cereals that we require, so it will be given in low price in these shops, in ration shops. Ration shops, they come under PDS system, public distribution system. So as you know, there are different cards, okay, ration cards, under which card do you have and under which category do you fall. As per that, you will be, your price of the product will be decided. So there are two types of customers, APL and BPL, above poverty line, below poverty line. So in this way, government takes care of citizens, okay, that is a food security. Next, impact of globalization on agriculture. See, in 1990s, many changes were brought in agriculture sector and throughout the world, as it was the age of liberalization, and all the countries, they just open their doors to for the foreign companies to come into their country and invest. See, from 1947 till 1990, India was purchasing something from outside, definitely, okay, and foreign companies, they were also selling many things in our India, but we have not allowed them, or we have not allowed any foreign company to come in our India, establish their infrastructure here and start their own company here. We had never allowed. But after 1990, when our Manmohan Singh was finance minister, we brought the liberalization, under which all many foreign companies, they came to India and they invested here. So earlier also there was old globalization, during which we used to sell our spices, okay, and we used to export our spices. When Britishers came to our India, they were attracted by the cotton belts and the quality of cotton. So India became the raw material providing factory for Britain. We were sending our high quality cotton as a raw material to Manchester and Liverpool, where cloth was being produced and it was sold in our India only or in many countries. Okay, so this was the impact of globalization on agriculture. In 1990, highly subsidized country versus India, there was a game, because in many countries agriculture or the peasants, they were given high subsidy for cultivating and producing something. That's why the price of their product was also very less. But in our India, our farmers, they were not getting subsidy in that large scale. So when they faced the competition, it was very stiff for Indian farmers. They were not able to cope up with that. But still, gradually, we came to that and finally we overcame it. And finally, till now, not satisfactory, but still, we are getting pace with the world. Okay, so that was the impact of globalization on agriculture. So all these problems our farmers were facing. So what was the solution for that? See, green revolution gave many promises in northern India, but they were having some drawbacks also. And in recent years, we started uh, understanding that green revolution is not going to last long. Okay, so what can replace green revolution? And we came to gene revolution, in which you might have seen, there is a one crop, or we can say one plant of rose. As you know, on the plant of one rose, you will get only one colored rose, isn't it? But due to this gene revolution, many colored flowers, many colored roses you can find on one plant only. So this is the miracle of gene revolution. So we can go to that. Then organic farming. So it is the most important, most demanded kind of crop now, because in organic farming, as you know, we are not using chemicals and it is completely natural. So people, they are asking more and more about organic products. And next, diver peasants and farmers, they have to diversify their products. Sometimes they have to produce cereals, some they have to cultivate sometimes they have to cultivate wheat, rice, etc. So they have to diversify their products so that the fertility of the land will be retained. Okay, so these are some solution for this universal problems. Okay, so I hope till here everything is clear to you, and it was really very, it was very in high stuff was there in this lesson, completely informative lesson. Okay, so try to keep all these facts in your mind, and I hope you might have understood the lesson fully. Okay, so fine, thank you so much, have a nice day.